SaaS Therapy.
Welcome to SaaS Therapy, the show devoted to helping you save your most important business relationships, your customers. My name is Casey Trujillo. I'm normally joined by Todd Kirk. I'm doing this follow-up from a previous podcast we held around MEDDPICC. This is an 8-part series where we're going through 8 different modules inside of MEDDPICC and helping you get a better understanding of each one. I think this one is one of my favorites, and I want to start it with one of my favorite movies of all time. If you know me, you know that I love the Rocky movies, except for Rocky 5 that never existed, but the Rocky movies were my favorite. And I'll be honest, Rocky 3, I know a lot of people don't like Rocky 3, but Rocky 3 was one of my favorites. It had amazing characters. Hulk Hogan, the all-star wrestler, was in it out of Thunder Lips. It was fantastic. But the villain, I think, was probably the best villain that any of the Rockies ever had, and it was Mr. T. And Rocky Balboa, our hero, our champion, is going to face off against Clubber Lang, Mr. T. They're interviewing Clubber Lang, Mr. T, before the fight, and the announcer says, "Do you have a prediction for the fight?" And Clubber Lang looks into the camera, just sweat coming off of his brow, this just determined look, and he says, "I have one prediction: pain." Today, in MEDDPICC is identify pain. Let's be honest, everyone. We are more likely to want to cure pain than we are to want to prevent pain. So identifying pain is very key in tying emotion to our success of our SaaS application and, of course, our renewal, right? So how do we identify pain? It is a gentle process. If you've ever been to the doctor, right, and a doctor has horrible bedside manner, you don't like the doctor. You still feel the pain. You want them to help, but you might go to a different doctor. Even though the pain's real, you just hated the bedside manner. So as we're going through identifying pain, our customers understand this. They know that you might try to use this to your advantage in negotiations or whatever you might do. So identifying pain is more of an empathy. It's more of getting on the same side of the table so that your customer knows and understands that the business realization that they were looking for, which is to solve the pain, has actually taken place. So it's not just solving the pain, it's the way in which you prescribe the solution to the pain. So let me walk you through some ways in which you can identify pain and help your customer see that you're on the same side. So I call it the magic wand question. And so here's the way it starts. If I was working with a customer, I would say, if I had a magic wand and could guarantee 100% success, how would your users behave differently with this application? So what I'm trying to get my point of contact to envision is a future state without pain, right? Because they're feeling the pain. They know the pain. I want them to first envision a life without the pain. So they're going to describe that future state to me. I'm going to go, great. Okay, I might dig in a little bit deeper in certain areas, right? I'm going to let them tell me exactly how that looks. And then I'm going to ask the question, so if that's how we want them to work, if that's how we want them to utilize the application, if that's how we want them to save time, if that's the way that we want them to collaborate, again, enter in your benefit statements of your application, then here's the key follow-up question. Then how are your users doing that today then? If that's the future state, what does current state look like? Again, the tone of your voice needs to be curious. You described Hawaii perfectly to me. So where are you living at today, right? I want to know, what does it look like today? And having empathy in how you ask that question is so key. So what does it look like today? They are then going to walk through that. And that's where you start asking the questions. And then why does that matter? And what disruption does that cause to the business? Or how does that impact that user? Like, I want to understand why we need to get to that future state, but we need our champion to walk through that pain and live the pain so they understand that they really want this to be solved. And then the next question, after they've described that, they've walked through what the current state looks like. Well, if that's the challenge that we're facing, what's keeping us from getting users to work the way we want them to work then? Where are the challenges? Great. Now they start defining the challenges that they're facing. Okay. Now that's all setting this up where we can identify the pain and put it into a measurable timeline. Okay. A measurable timeline, because pain has an expiration. Because when you're walking through 2024 initiatives, it's actually because of 2023 pain. When your customer's telling you this is what they're trying to solve for, it's because they felt it in 2023. So you need to make sure you understand the measurable and the timeline to this. So we've walked through future state. We've walked through current state. We've walked through what are the challenges of not getting to the future state according to them. And then we ask this question. So what happens if we don't get there? And do we have a timeline in which we need to get to this future state? There it is. Now people start to walk through that. Well, yeah, I need to get this solved in the next 6 months. And if we don't get there, this is what happens and this is what happens. Now the next question, how would we know that we made it? What are some measurables that we could put to this? What are some metrics we could put to this? Again, going back to MEDDPICC and the M at the beginning, quantitative, qualitative data that we're looking at, right? All of that plays part. But remember, the most important part of identifying pain is having empathy and finding the pain. Just because you find the pain doesn't mean you're the person that they're going to go to fix the solution. The bedside manner matters. Thank you for joining us on this episode of SaaS Therapy.